Hi, everyone. Good night, good night, good night. I I not too long ago got home, and of course, I had to hop on here to say good night and to share. And I am grateful to God for bringing me home safely, and so on and so forth. In actuality, I just want to share something with you, who may be parents of high school students who are taking the English regions. As you know, or maybe some of you don't know because this is the first time you're listening to me. I was an English teacher and I taught high school students. And something I didn't mention before teaching high school, I also taught in junior high school. And I spent one day in elementary school as a substitute teacher. And I said, you know what? Elementary students are not for me. And then I spent 2.5 years in junior high school. And oh my God. And I realized junior high school kids are not for me. And so I ended up in high school and I said, okay, I feel at home in high school. Although the students were very challenging to deal with, they were very challenging to deal with. But mm, but that was the best fit for me. All right, so what I want to share with you is those of you who are new, and although I just got started, my throat is really really disturbing me right now. Many of my students got hundreds on the English regions, which hadn't happened for a while in this particular high school that I worked in. And I found out quite accidentally, or not necessarily accidentally, because one of the schools that I worked in prior, I know teachers in different schools, okay? So one of my friends who knew that I was in this particular school, she called me and she said, Kathleen, is this you? I said, yeah. I said, why? She said, oh my God, so many of your students got hundreds on the English regions. I said, what? And by the way, that year I retired from teaching, 2016. That was the best gift ever. I was so happy. I was so happy. A lot, most of my students, because I had 5 classes. Um, as a teacher, a regular teacher, you're given 5 classes. At least back then, 2016 when I left, that's what the deal was. I don't know if they changed it by now. I don't know because I just haven't been keeping up with what's going on in the teaching, situation. So I had 5 classes. I had, if I recall correctly, I think, 3 gifted classes and then 2 challenging classes. I'm just going to leave it at that. In the challenging classes, the students used to talk, ignore me. At least that's what I thought they were doing, ignore me. They used to have their private conversations. Oh my gosh, it was quite a time. I'm mentioning those classes first because there's a point to this. They gave me a run for my money, okay? Because the classes, wait a minute. I think it was the other way around. I had 3 challenging classes and 2 gifted classes. Yeah, that's how it was. So In the challenging classes, they were repeaters. Okay, these students were repeaters of the same grade. That means, of course, as you know, that they were left back. And they were giving me a hard time. I had 3 classes of students who were mostly left back. There may have been a few who were not left back, but for the most part, most of them were students that were left back. And there were many behavioral issues. Now, here's the thing. Teachers, unfortunately, are blamed for students' misbehaviors, but in reality, these kids, because I knew the teacher whose class they had prior, and they were quite a handful. So it was not just a me thing. They were misbehaving. They didn't pay attention, at least so I thought. For the most part, they didn't turn in their homework and so forth and so on. But here's my point. After the regions, I believe, from what I gather, all of them passed the English regions. All. And those kids who were left back, their scores on their English regions were like 30s and 20s. But for me, they went up from the 20s and 30s to 80s and 90s. And I know this because they told me. And I remember this one student in particular, he was so proud of himself because he was like very troublesome. Oh God, he gave me a run for my money. He was so troublesome. But you gotta love the kids. So he came up to me, he said, Miss Fraser, I know you thought I wasn't paying attention, but I got a 94 on the English regions. And he said, I know you thought I wasn't paying attention, right? But I was paying attention. And that like blew my mind because I really did think he wasn't paying attention because he was always talking and doing things that he wasn't supposed to be doing in the classroom. Now I can look back fondly on those days and laugh, but it was very painful while I was going through it, okay? And then my gifted classes got hundreds. Most of them got 100. So the regular students who failed and were left back went from the 20s and 30s to the 80s and the 90s. Could you imagine what that felt like when I retired? And when I got that information and I knew I was retiring in the year of 2016. Could you imagine how wonderful I felt finding that out? And my other kids, my 2 gifted classes, most of them, if not all of them, got hundreds on the English regions. So what I'm telling you parents, I'm gonna give you a tip here, and you could use this, strategy. Well, I'm gonna give you some strategies. And you could use this for your own, for your own benefit. One of the things I had my students do because I know, like, they love their music, they're into the hip hop or whatever and stuff like that. I use those things as listening skills, exercises in the classroom. And I had them do writing activities, taking notes while I read certain things to them about their favorite people. They love to listen to music, their favorite artists and different things. And I use those items to help them to write the essays. I don't know if I don't think it's changed. There's the critical lens essay. There's the I forgot the other one where you have to read different articles or different different literature and then write and using facts and information from the different literature. You got to put it together in a cohesive essay. And then the other one was a listening skills exercise. So they did well in each category. So what I did, these are strategies that I told them. I said, you know what? Why don't you listen to the news, every day and take notes according to what you hear. Don't worry about it. Just listen to the news for how many amount of minutes, write notes, listen to your favorite music or DJ or whatever they listen to and take notes while you're listening. So these are strategies that I told them to do in order to increase their listening skills and to help them to know, like to write the notes so that by the time the readers come around, they will be very adept at taking notes, if you get my point. So that's one of the strategies I use. I had them listen to, well, not just the news, music, and whatever. They could be listening to the radio, listen to whatever, and take notes. All right, so that was just a note taking exercise, having them listen to these items. All right, and then for the other stuff, I actually printed out articles and magazines, things, and bios and these different things. And then I had them use that information to do oh, I forgot what they call that other part of the English regions. When they had I think it's three different things that they would read and use that to write an essay, and they have to take information from these three different, pick two or something like that, and then they would write it out, in a cohesive essay. They would find what these items have in common and create their thesis statement, and then use that to write evidence from both items or how many items to support whatever their thesis statement is. You understand that strategy, right? So I used to like, biography or um, that I would find on Beyonce and these people, Jay-Z, and these people they love to listen to. I use those to help the kids. And here's another thing I did with, literary devices, which is what I am here discussing with you. I went over the literary devices with them and, show them, created like a format. Matter of fact, all of these different regions, scenarios, I created my own personal format and I gave it to them and I had them plug in the information and then use evidence from the work of literature or works of literature to support whatever it is they were supporting, whatever statement they made, whatever their critical lens, whatever is, they had to get evidence to support it from works of literatures that they have read. And I created a template for them to use. So when I hit at like two of my classes, and I think maybe even in the regular classes there were hundreds there too. So the point I'm making is, guys, parents, if you're on here listening or whenever you listen to this, these are strategies that you can share with your teenagers to help them get really, really great grades on their English regions. As a matter of fact, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I might create a course. Although I just want to enjoy my life right now because God knows I went through it as a teacher. It was not a joke. And I had some students who were so funny and hilarious. I had students that I really, really loved having around me. One of them, I'm still in contact with her. She's so innocent. I think she's 31 now, but she is so innocent. She is so innocent. Her name is Bridget. I don't know if I ever told her, but I consider her to be like a daughter. You could say kind of, sort of, because she is so innocent, innocent and sweet. She's a sweet girl, but she's a woman now. I still talk to her. Matter of fact, I haven't spoken to her in a little bit. I need to call her or whatever and see how she's doing. But anyway, so I'm just sharing that with you. So today we're just going to talk about POV, which is point of view. Now, when I used to teach point of view, the students used to get it all confused. When you hear point of view, you're thinking that I'm referring to, like, what is your point of view on this situation? But that's not what the literary device point of view refers to. Point of view in the literary device situation refers to first person, which is I or me. I am walking down the street, and so forth and so on. So when a work is written in the first person, they would usually use I. So that means that the person, the character or whatever in the work of literature is the person writing. All right. So there are a few works of literature out there, even though it's written in I, it's still fiction. So the author just wrote it that way for effect. Okay. But first person is using I or me. Okay. And that's how that goes, as though the person himself or herself is doing the work of literature. And then there is the third person limited. The third person limited is like, when you have one character who, is speaking in the work of literature, the first person, oh good lord, I'm tripping myself up. The third person limited uses she and him. Okay. So basically, limited means that this particular, there's either one character there who knows what's going on, but it's only limited to one character, or it could be more than one character. All right. But the work of literature doesn't know what's going on with everybody in that work of literature. It's just like one character or another character. But that's why it's called limited. And then there's the third person omniscient. So the third person omniscient also uses she or him. And third person omniscient means just that, all knowing. So, like, this person knows everything that's going on with everyone in the work of literature. All right, I hope I, made that clear for you. So, this is point of view, not in the like, okay, my point of view over a situation, but it's the literary device point of view. All right, so when you see POV or point of view, let's say you're taking an exam and you're writing, let's say, a critical lens essay, you could use point of view as a literary device to support whatever it is that's going on in that particular critical lens essay. Because you will have to identify the point of view in the work of literature that you're using. I'm telling you, parents, so you could share this with your teenagers. All right. They'll have to identify the point of view in the literature that they're using as evidence to support the critical lens. So let's say the book that they're using is like a book where it's written in I, and so forth. That means it's first person point of view. So you may say, like, well, this character Jamie, this in whatever the book is written in a first person point of view, and then show whatever it is example based on whatever was done in that work of literature that you're trying to support. So I hope you're following me on that. So remember, in literary devices, point of view doesn't mean your personal point of view about a situation. It's referring to a work of literature. Now, poets also use point of view when they write. All right. So various types of literature can use first person, third person omniscient, or third person limited. All right, so that's how that goes. So I hope you kind of understand what I just spoke to you on. And I need your help. Because I use some, you know, I decided to put these different literary devices, different techniques on merch that I actually create. So I want your thought on one particular simile, which I wrote here and I'm taking a poll on. So I really, really, really need your advice. And I want to know if you think that this is a good simile to put on a t-shirt, hoodie, or a merch, a product. So I really value your opinion. So just, let me know what your thoughts are. And by the way, this is one of my merches right here. See this mug? I have merches with animals on it and different things, different products and whatnot. And I have different sizes. And this is a really sturdy mug. All right. So, see that? So, if you're interested, you can go to my website, jkfstyles.com. I keep forgetting to put it in this feed because I've seen people do it, but I don't know how to do it. Okay, so I'll just share it with you. It's jkfstyles.com. So I guess you put www.jkfstyles.com and you will see some merches on there. I have like merch with literary devices on them, you know, and interesting sayings on them. Some would consider them to even be slogans, some of them, and I think you will find it very interesting. And feel free to purchase if you're interested in any of them. I think they're beautiful because I did create them. So I think they're beautiful. And I am finally getting on here because I'm retired doesn't mean I shouldn't, you know, keep up with technology. To be honest with you, I was kind of like nervous about doing any kind of live anywhere because, like, I am just not, in my mind, this is not my cup of tea because, you know, I'm more mostly in my mind a quiet person and I like to stay to myself basically. But like my son says, Mom, you really need to keep up with technology. So here I am talking to you, sharing with you, and I hope that the information I gave you, to share with your teenagers who are taking the regions, I hope you find the information valuable. And if you want to hear more, more strategies, or you would like me to help your teenager in any way, let me know. I'd be happy to help because I'm the only I'm the only teacher in that school who students have achieved hundreds in the quantity that they have for quite a few years. So I'm actually quite proud of myself. And if I could help anyone achieve that, because remember what I said, in my mind, my students was like my child because I lost my daughter when she was 13 months old. So in my mind, my students were my adopted children. And that's how I thought about them. And I wanted them to be very successful in life because that's what I would have wanted for my own daughter. And of course, I have a son. And I just have a great love for people and human beings and loving to see people do better. I really love to see people do better. So don't forget to, I think it's like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember to go on over to my website and see what you see. And, if you hopefully you like what you see there. And if you have any suggestions, I'm open to suggestions. Because some people, they have this notion they can't take criticism. But, you know, think of criticism as being something constructive that is beneficial. So to get upset when people give you constructive criticism, I think that's a problem. And I don't have a problem with it because I value everyone's opinion, and you're never too old to learn anything. And that's how I view life. And again, I thank God for everything He has done for me, for helping me to make it through the years working in the school system as a teacher. My best fit, like I said to you, was high school. Elementary school, one day there was enough for me. Yeah, I did a substitute thing there for one day, and I'm like, no, this is not for me. Junior high school, at least I lasted 2.5 years. But most of my years, actually I spent in the high school situation. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.